All right. So I mentioned this a bit ago, but it's all about networking. All right. 80% of jobs are filled through employee referral programs. Many companies are glad to pay $1,000, $1,500 if their workers recommend somebody that can fill a position and they don't have to go through hundreds of resumes on Indeed or on LinkedIn. Okay. I'm all about reaching out to former colleagues, vendors, friends, relatives. And in the world of networking, I will quote Michael Jordan, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. When I was out of work, anybody who gave me an additional contact or referred me to somebody or recommended I talk to them, I reached out to them, because you never know if that next phone call or next virtual meeting is somebody that might have a job for you. Okay. I just finished physical therapy last week based on an injury I incurred. And the physical therapist was the site director. And the week before my physical therapy ended, he said, you know, I'm leaving, next week is my last week here, but I'm not at liberty to tell where I'm going. I said, I understood. So when I came last week for my last session, I said, you know, good luck to you. Can you say where you're going? I'm taking a job with the Washington Wizards. Really? How did you get a job as a physical therapist with the Washington Wizards? Well, the medical director there is somebody I knew. And when they created this opening, he reached out to me. They didn't go through hundreds of resumes. He identified someone he wanted to work with. I'm currently supporting a company that's a diagnostic company. The CEO is somebody I supported in a previous professional life for him. This company now includes me. He brought on his former COO. He brought on his former director of operations. Okay. And we in turn have hired, I brought on our office manager who I've worked with at 3 other places. It's all about relationship building and networking and leveraging your network. Okay. Importantly, don't just ask if they know of any opportunities. Often people, when they network, they'll call a friend, a colleague, etc. Hey, you know, after you make small talk, I'm out of work. And are you aware of any openings? Are you aware of any jobs that I might be a good fit for? 98% of the time, people are going to say, no, I'm sorry, I don't know of anything. So here's what I recommend, and I didn't create a slide for it. What I would tell people as I'm networking is, after we make small talk about news, weather, and sports, I'm looking to enlist your help in my job search. Now, 90% of the time, people are going to say, sure, how can I help? Okay, I'm looking for your advice. I'm looking for your suggestions. I'm looking for more contacts. And I can tell you, in my mind, a good networking session, you walk away with more contacts. Okay, you might get advice on your resume. You might get advice about your LinkedIn profile. You might get some other advice, but the name of the game is more contacts. And the more people you can reach out to and people that they know, the better off your chances are. After they give you some contacts, I often want to make sure, is it okay if I use your name when I reach out to them? Because more often than not, it's easier for them to give you the contact information and you send an email than them making email introductions. But I think it is important for you to confirm that, because I had one situation where somebody asked me, do you have the contact information for the CFO where you used to work at? And I said, yes, I do. But importantly, don't use my name when you reach out to him, because we didn't get along. So make sure you're using the name of people that it's okay to use you as the conduit. Yes, feel free to tell Milry that I recommended contacting you. Okay. And then, since it's all about relationship building, ask, do you mind if I keep you posted on my job search? Okay. And more often than not, people are going to say, sure. And that can include a follow-up email, thanking them for the contacts, thanking them for the advice. It can be monthly emails following up. Hey, we haven't talked in a while. Just want to let you know what's going on. If you can think of any recommendations or advice or contacts for me, I welcome them. And the last question, the most important one, and it always takes people by surprise, what can I do for you? Okay, because it's all about relationship building. It's a two-way street. And I can tell you, I had one situation where I was networking with someone and they said, you know what? I'm doing a networking group once a week at this church for people who are out of work and they don't have a ramp. It's not ADA compliant. So people with disabilities and handicap can't get in. If you know of anybody who has a place that's, accessible, wheelchair accessible, let me know. And through my networking and my coaching, I wound up bringing it up in conversation. And sure enough, somebody was a member of the church that had ramps and it was ADA accessible. And I put the two people together and ideally they were able to help each other out. Okay. The last thing about networking, it's a job search is a 40-hour job. When you're out of work, that's your full-time job. And I can tell you, when I was out of work, we had something called a project search team. It was kind of a score sheet for keeping track of the contacts you were making. And I'll read some numbers to you. How many personal contacts did you make, meeting people pre-pandemic at Starbucks or at Panera Bread or wherever? How many phone contacts did you make? This is on a weekly basis. How many recruiter contacts did you make? How many interviews did you have, including follow-up interviews? How many direct mail? How many response to ads did you have? Okay. And then you total up what your total contacts were. In any given week, I put in anywhere from 30 to 50 hours a week on my job search. And my number of contacts early on, the first week was 111 between personal, phone, recruiter, et cetera. The next week was 71. And over the next number of weeks, it ranged from 32 to 71 total contacts I made per week on my job search. I had a personal goal of reaching out by phone. This was in 2003 to touch base with at least 25 people. Okay. So at the end of my job search, and this was before LinkedIn, I went from a network of maybe 65, 70 people to a 15-page spreadsheet of over 500 contacts till I landed my job. So I don't want to minimize the hard work and effort that goes into a job search. And it's all about sticking with it. And it's all about trying to be optimistic that the next call, the next email, the next virtual meeting could lead to something that leads to an interview that ideally eventually leads to an offer.